Hello everybody, I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, and Japanese out here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and I like to pick things apart and think very deeply about them, and I'm using the Harvard Project Zero thinking routines at the moment. And I'd love to discuss it with you and get some ideas from you. I could be reached here at studio-nemo.com. I'm very active on the Duolingo Educators Network and the Minecraft Education Ambassadors. And if you'd like a write-up of anything I'm talking about, it's available here and here. So today we are talking about Creative Hunt. Now we've skipped a couple because we already talked about them in core thinking routines, so we can go on. Creative Hunt also occurs in investigating objects and systems and in exploring art, images, and objects. This is a routine for looking at parts, purposes, and audiences. Now, Harvard Project Zero recommends that you have a big poster and students come up and put sticky notes on the poster. Well, this is very much like a GLAD technique I talked about in an earlier video dealing with guided language acquisition development. But I'm in a classroom with very limited wall space because I teach 3 different languages throughout the day, and I have 140 students, and I have a touchscreen board, so no one's going to be putting sticky notes on that. So what I do is I either project the image on the board, and then I have the students come and write on the board because it's a touchscreen board, so they can write stuff on it, and then I can save it under different classes, or I give them a photocopy of the image, also projecting it on the board, and then the students can label the photocopy, which also works. So even if they're just talking about the colors that they see, they feel a real sense of accomplishment in drawing the arrows and pointing at what they see in the picture. So if you're going to teach grammar explicitly, either in pop-up grammar, or you're using the grammar translation method, or you're doing some audiolingual fun stuff and you're looking at transformation drills, or you've written a script, whole class, like in community language learning, and now you're dissecting the script that your class wrote, or you're working straight out of your textbook, that's all good. You need some sentence frames. You've got to give your students some sentence frames. It is necessary is kind of tricky in French, so I always give that, il faut. And then for my Japanese students, I have to remind them about the te form, which connects verbs together, and it's kind of like a by using this, and then give them also dekiru, or the eru form of the verb, so they can start talking about the purposes of things. When teaching literature, culture, history, or art, or of course music or food, this routine really, really shines, I think, with the cultural aspect. You may have to really press your students to stay in the target language. I allow my students to code switch because I don't want them to slow down. So if they don't know the particular word in French or in Spanish or in Japanese, it's like, oh, just stick it in English as long as it's in a grammatical sentence. I'm okay with that. And then, of course, I'll write on the board. I'll add to our word bank because it's a living word bank. Just keep adding words to the word bank as the students ask for them. My Japanese students absolutely love to talk about toilets, of course, because toilets in Japan are so different and unique. And we talk about all the buttons on some of them, or we talk about how they're put in the floor in most of them, or on the Shinkansen. I couldn't find a good picture of the Shinkansen, but it is truly terrifying, at least when I lived in Japan, because it's just a hole in the ground and you're over something like this, and you can see the train tracks just, dare I say, whizzing right below you. I like to put up pictures of interesting architecture, usually architecture that the students are kind of familiar with. So maybe the Arc de Triomphe, or maybe a capsule hotel, or the jail cell that Miguel Cervantes was stuck in when he refused to pay his taxes, and have the students describe those things. And then that is a springboard for the next thing that we're going to do with those items. Which brings me to my next point, which is this is your chance to use your UDL, your backwards design. Think about what you want the students doing with whatever skill you're working on. Do you want them to be able to navigate the train system? Okay, so first they're going to need to buy a ticket at the train station. They're going to need to figure out what all those parts are. They're going to need to figure out how to read a map at the train station. All right, so what do you want your students to be able to do, and what are they going to see along the way as they're doing it? And so this routine is really fun for that. In our next episode, we're going to talk about creative question starts. Hope to see you there.